Hello, my name's George Cairns, and in this video lesson I'm going to show you how to select and transform these source images here to create an exciting aerial dogfight. We actually took this shot from the comfort of the ground, and indeed we've got a variety of source images for you to play with, so you can select, transform, scale and rotate the shots to create the exciting composite scene. There's a background there taken from a helicopter, so we can make it look like we shot this from one of the fighting planes. So I'm going to show you how to do all that now, and we're going to put the transform tools through their paces. So chocks away. Let's start off by just isolating this main plane here. We're not really doing the tutorial about selection, but I'm just going to show you how to select one plane and add a little motion blur to it, so you can then do the same with the other planes, and then we'll go into the transforming in more detail. But let's just grab the magic wand first of all to select the sky, since it's fairly even. Set the tolerance to 35. If you tick contiguous, that will try and stop it collecting other bits of blue, like the little bit of blue in the logo here. So just click to select the sky, and you can then shift click to try and add other bits of blue to the selection. So we're just interested in the plane, and you'll notice it's caught a little bit of the tail there, but we can tidy that up in a second using a layer mask. So shift click to add all the bits of blue hiding in the strut, and then select inverse to select the plane instead of the sky. I'm going to bring in my layers palette now by dragging that in from the side, or you can go to window layers, and what I'm going to do is just double click to unlock it, clicking OK here, and then if I click here, it will turn that selection into a layer mask and hide the unwanted blue background. I'm just going to Control or Command plus to zoom in for a closer look, and you can see those bits that we need to tidy up, like these little bits of blue here. And to do that, what I can try and do is either click on the main layer, click on these bits of blue that I've missed, shift click to add them to the selection, and then I can go back to the layer mask, and I can go to Edit, choose Fill, and then we can choose Fill with Black, because black hides unwanted content. Click OK, and it's gone. Alternatively, I'm just going to hit Control D or Command D to deselect that bit of marquee. You can go and grab the brush tool by hitting B. There's the brush tool in the layers palette there. Click on the mask, and then if you choose a nice soft edge brush tip, I'm using the left square bracket to shrink that down. I can paint black on this area here, Control plus to zoom in, or Command plus, and then the black brush tip will hide unwanted details, and you can shift click to draw between 2 points and just fine tune things that way. And if there's a bit missing like we have in the tail, press X to swap the foreground colour to white, and then click and spray some white on the layer mask, and then if I click and shift click to draw a straight line at this top bit here, that will just help make the selection like so. Once you've finished editing the mask, you can right click on it and choose Apply Layer Mask, and then drag the layer onto the Create New Layer icon to create a copy. Then pop up to Filter and go down to Blur and choose Motion Blur, and that will give you a cool special effect. If you set the angle to -19 degrees, distance of 40, that adds a streak of blur to the shot. Click OK to apply the change. We then need to add a layer mask to this top layer just to add selective blur to different bits of the plane. So just click here to do that. Press B for the brush tool, choose a nice soft edge brush like this one here. Take the size up to around about maybe 140, and then what we can do is click on the mask, get a nice black brush, and then just click and spray, and that will then reveal bits of detail that we want to preserve, like the front of the wheels, a bit of the logo maybe, and maybe the pilot's face as well. So we can just fine tune things using a black brush on the mask. Now pop up to Layer and choose Merge Visible. Let's go up to Select All and then choose Edit and Copy. Then you can open up the background image, which is plain background like so, and then Edit Paste the plane into the background, and it will place it in the center of the frame like so. Now grab the Move tool by clicking here, and if you click and drag with CS6, you get a little overlay that shows you you're dragging it left or up or down, and that helps you position things with more precision. So I'm going to go left around about 14 centimeters like so, down just about 0.79 or thereabouts. That should do the trick. Repeat the selection process to isolate plane 02 from its background, and then Control V or Edit Paste that into the main document. And if we grab the Move tool, we can drag that up to around about 30 centimeters or so, drag it left to around about 9 centimeters, and there we have it in position. Now what I can do next is to either go to Edit, Transform and use one of the rotate or scale options here. Alternatively, you can just tick the Show Transform tools, and then when you're using the Move tool, you can scale it or even rotate it by just dragging outside like so. So if I click and drag to the right, you can see we've got another overlay that shows me the degree that I'm using. You can also see that in the options bar at the top there. So around about 27 or so should do the trick, and then hit return, and you can see there's the option at the top there. You can type the value in here too. But it's just nice to use the Move tools, Show Transform tools options, because that saves you having to go up to the transform menu and choose various different transform options manually. So hit return to apply the transformation, and we can place the plane more in the distance by using the scale options. Again, we could go to edit, down to transform and scale, and that would give us a similar bounding box, but we can also use the Show Transform tools here and simply shift click to constrain the proportions and click and drag, and that's scaling it down. In the options bar, we're going to go down to about 62% or so, just to get a nice small plane in the distance there. Around about that should do the trick. I can then position it so that it's flying away in the distance. Hit return to apply that transformation, and once you've finished transforming, you can untick the Show Transform tools box so that you can see the plane without any distracting clutter around it. And you now have all the skills you need to isolate the other planes from the start images here, pop them into the main document, transform them to make them dive, and just fight each other in any creative way you like. It's like those old Letraset transfers you used to get when you were children, at least when I was a child you did. Okay, so the final tip to make these planes in the background look more distant is to add a bit of diffuse moisture to the air. You can see in the distance there aren't any very strong blacks, whereas in the foreground here we've got a very dark area in the plane. This one here would be a little bit more diffuse, and we can do that by selecting the layer and then adding an adjustment layer, or going up to Image, going to Adjustments and choosing Levels, and up pops the Levels command. And what I'm going to do is take the output levels. We rarely use this, but I'm actually going to make them much lighter than the pure black they are for the moment, just to lighten up that little plane slightly. So we take this up to around about 34. You can see the levels are much lighter, and that makes it look more distant. It's a good compositing trick. Let me just click OK to apply that change, and there we have our plane flying away from its attacker. So you can repeat these techniques to select and paste and scale and rotate and position the various planes until you've got an exciting aerial dogfight like this. The transform tools can also help you correct problems like perspectival distortion. When you shoot a tall building and you tilt the camera up to get the top of the building in the frame, the edges of the building can converge inwardly instead of running parallel with the edge of the frame. This is the corrected version, and this is the start image. It's called perspectivebefore.jpg. So open that up, and then we're going to make some space by going to Image and choosing Canvas Size, and then what we're going to do is just extend the canvas upwards. So I'm going to click here to extend from below, and we'll get some more extra space at the top. I'm going to go to height, and I'm going to type in a value of 43.29, and we're going to just make sure we've got a white extension color. Click OK, and then you can see we've got our extended white canvas like so. Double click to unlock the background layer and make it editable, and then if you go down to edit, you can go down to transform, and the one we're after this time is perspective. So if we click here, you'll see a bounding box appear. If I Control or Command minus, I can zoom out, and we can then drag the bottom one to the right just to bring that inwards a bit, drag the top one to the left to bring it outwards, and slowly but surely we can transform our building to make it look taller. Something like this should do the trick. Hit return to apply the change, and there we have our transform building. You might also need, once that's been applied, to press Command or Control T to get the free transform tool. That gives you another bounding box, and then just click and drag upwards to extend it and make it a little bit taller, because otherwise it'll look a little bit compressed and squashed. Hit return to apply that transformation. I'm just going to Control plus to zoom back in again, and I'm going to grab the crop tool to get rid of these transparent edges that we're seeing because we've distorted the content. So press C to grab the crop tool, and then you can click and drag to try and crop in so that we've got the edges much more close to the edge of the building, and we're losing more of the transparent details. You can click outside and rotate as well, because you can see the top of the building is a little bit squint, a little bit wonky, so you can straighten that horizon as well. Click and drag down and just try and fine tune the position. You're going to get a little bit of transparency around the bottom as well, so we can actually tighten that in there to lose as much of the transparent details as possible. You may find you still have some, so what I'll do is I'll just show you how to use the clone stamp just to tidy up any remaining stubborn bits of transparent pixels. When you've got something like this, you can then hit return or click the tick to apply the crop transformation. Now we can't quite crop out everything around the transparent edges, otherwise we'll end up losing the edge of the building as well. So grab the clone stamp, use a small brush tip, and then just alt-click to sample a suitable bit of pixel, and then spray it to extend it over the transparent edge, like so. We're also going to select and extend a bit of paving stone as well, so let's go over to around about here, click and spray, and that should then help us extend a little bit more. So if you click and sample little and often, left square bracket will take a smaller brush tip down there. You can then increase the edge of the frame to hide remaining transparent edges. And I've just finished tidying up the corners here and a little bit in the corner here. So that's how you use the Perspective Transform command and the crop tool to correct perspectival distortion.